All right. And now it is my pleasure to welcome onto the show Pac-12 insider, host and executive producer of the Ryan D. Leaf Show, host of Just Recruitment, broadcaster in the CIF San Diego section. This guy just really does it all. And Jonathan Rifkind, as I welcome you onto the show. Thanks for coming on. You got so many titles now, Johnny. I don't always know what to start with, but you're a busy man, and I know that your emotions were kind of taking a ride last night as your Oregon Ducks were facing USC. What were your thoughts during that matchup?
Well, I'm wearing a USC shirt, so
and I didn't even see that.
And as I know you are, Jonah, you're probably wearing shorts under there, so and nobody knows that. I'm also wearing
sweats, actually.
Oh, you're in. Okay, at least you're more comfortable. I'm wearing shorts, but they're Oregon shorts, so I had to offset the USC shirt with a pair of Oregon shorts. But no, I mean, look, it was a tough game. USC is longer than Oregon is. Oregon has a bunch of athletes, but not necessarily basketball players. USC has a bunch of basketball players that executed better. And Andy Enfield, who was one of the best Division III shooting guards at Johns Hopkins way back in the day, instituted an offense that is picturesque against guys who want to use a dribble drive, but also want to shoot the ball. You kill the perimeter, you kill the paint, you win the game. That's what USC did.
Now, the Pac-12, they've been unbelievable this tournament. 12-2 in this postseason. Really, the two losses are by default because Oregon and USC had to play one another. They easily could have been 13-1 if they were matched up against different teams.
Yeah, friendly fire.
So, but USC, I just talked about it before you hopped on here. They've been super impressive and dominant in this tournament because of, I think, the versatility, the different ways that they can play. They've got the bigs in the middle, and they've got the guards that shoot the ball extremely well on the outside. How impressed have you been with USC's run, and what kind of chance do you give them against Gonzaga and the Bulldogs tomorrow?
I'm very impressed with USC's run. I'm just as impressed with how they beat Oregon as I am with how they beat Kansas a couple of nights ago. I don't know. I think USC is an interesting story because they have all of the pieces to be arguably one of the best teams in the country. Now they're in the Elite Eight, so they have the credibility to back it up with play on the court. But you didn't see it in the regular season. They just lack continuity. Isaiah Mobley, the other of the Mobley brothers, the older but the smaller version, is breaking out right now. He recognizes, I think, that this is really his shot to get into the league. And the only way that he's going to do that is if he finds a way to carve out his own role as a contributor for USC and help lead them. And to this point, he has up to the Elite Eight. So I've been really impressed with Isaiah Mobley specifically. Yeah, I mean, the USC's, they're incredible defensively. They really are. And Andy Enfield is not a defensive-minded coach. He has hired some very good assistants who at other schools have instituted good defense. And the 2-1-2 hybrid zone defense, or the 3-2 hybrid zone defense that they played last night against Oregon, you're going to see against Gonzaga, because what it does is it clogs the perimeter when the ball gets into the middle, which is the way you're supposed to beat that zone. You collapse, you take away the space, and you force an errant shot. If USC executes that zone defense the way that they did against Oregon when they play Gonzaga tomorrow night, they're going to have every opportunity to win that game. Because Gonzaga's pieces, the game plan is pretty similar to Oregon's. They have I would say that they're a little bit more, they have a little bit more continuity offensively. Oregon has a little bit more of like the big body bully ball size down low. But other than that, their pace of play is pretty similar. So for USC, they're going to play that zone. And no other team has faced the zone like that. Not certainly throughout the tournament. You see it sometimes in the regular season. But even teams like Syracuse, right? They play a straight 2-3 zone. You don't really see this sort of 2-1-2, 3-2 hybrid. And when you can execute it the way that USC did, you could probably beat anybody.
Now, UCLA under Mick Cronin now advancing to the Elite Eight for the first time since reaching 3 consecutive trips in 2006, 2007, 2008. Obviously, Oregon State is reaching the Elite Eight on, again, probably the most unpredictable run. Why have we been kind of overlooking the Pac-12 do you think that this year's kind of a one-off, or this really is a true reflection of the type of depth that exists within the Pac-12?
No, I think this is the breakout year of, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 years. I think the Pac-12 has consistently been good in basketball. They've consistently put teams in. They've been held up by Oregon. Of course, Oregon had that Final Four run back in 2017. Was a Jordan Bell rebound against North Carolina away from making the championship and facing Gonzaga, a Gonzaga team I think they could have beaten, led by Zach Collins that season. But the Pac-12 athletically has been great. They've been outputting phenomenal basketball players. Washington, of course, has been outputting some of the best defenders in the NBA. Oregon has a handful of guys. USC, Kevin Porter Jr. is finally playing well in Houston now that he's settling in emotionally. UCLA has a couple of guys. I mean, like, these teams are consistently outputting pretty strong talent. So why isn't it conducive to national championships or to the national stage when they get to the tournament? I just think it's the overall play on the West Coast up to this season. I think that the playing field was more even this year with the coronavirus forcing teams to play in conference. And the Pac-12 as a conference is just one of the more competitive conferences. And because the preparation was there and because the athleticism, not the athleticism, but the preparation and the strength of schedule, we'll call it, for some of these teams, you know, when they played this conference only schedule, it was competitive. They were able to fine tune the parts of the game that they needed to for the tournament, and it ended up working out. Oregon State's a great example of that. I mean, Oregon State picked to finish last in the Pac-12, was the 8th seed in the Pac-12 tournament, went on to win, and then in the NCAA tournament, Wayne Tinkle's squad was slept on, and here they are in the lead as a 12th seed. So the Oregon State's a perfect example of just sort of the epitome of the Pac-12 for this past season.
Now, have you been writhing in bed knowing that Oregon's not in the Elite Eight, but Oregon State
I hate you,
is
man.
in the Civil War?
Well, it's not called the Civil War anymore, Jonah. Come on,
That's true.
man.
Apologies.
It is now
Apologies.
called the rivalry.
Negative.
It
Right.
will
The
forever
rivalry.
be the Civil War. No, I'm not writhing in bed. I'm very happy. I told you this on the phone last night, Jonah. As much as I love Oregon, as much as I want to see my Ducks win, at this point in my life, I'm a Pac-12 fan, man. I'm excited to see USC, UCLA, and Oregon State go and try and kick some ass. And I am firmly on the Oregon State bandwagon right now. For the first time in my entire life, if it's USC, UCLA, or Oregon State right now, I'm all in on Oregon State.
So let's stick with these three teams. Of these three teams, when you factor in opponents, when you factor in personnel, which one of these three teams do you think has the greatest chance of not only reaching the championship game, but also winning the NCAA championship?
Probably USC. Okay, well, reaching maybe not because they have to play Gonzaga. With that being said, if USC can beat Gonzaga, get to the Final Four, I don't see any team left that maybe Baylor, because they can match up with sides, but they get into foul trouble very quickly. Any team other than Baylor that can match up sufficiently with USC, even Michigan, because Michigan has bigs. They have guys that can match up, but their bigs aren't athletic. They're bully ball bigs. They're like the Oregon bigs, right? Why does USC have, or why are USC's bigs different? Why do they stand out? Because they have guys that can handle the ball, stretch the floor, and also play down low and get in your grill. Evan Mobley is I don't know. He's like if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was better. Like, he's just this guy who isn't going to be a point guard, but has the skills of a point guard. Isn't going to be a center, but has the skills of a center. So he's somewhere in between. He can stretch the floor. He's incredibly intelligent with the basketball. You can run the offense through him. You can set him up off ball. Everything about him, you can plug him in and play, and he's going to make your team better. So because of that reason, USC and the continuity that they have, they're the best of the Pac-12 teams to make it, or the most favorited. I think UCLA is just playing with a lot of heart. Mick Cronin's a genius. He didn't get the credit he deserved at Cincinnati, and so now he's finally getting that opportunity here with UCLA in the tournament. But UCLA's, I don't know. I think the Jaime's phenomenal. I think he's phenomenal, but I don't think that he's going to lead this team when it comes to playing teams like with Evan Mobley or with Jalen Suggs. Or honestly, even Michigan has a bunch of different pieces around that are a little bit stronger than what UCLA can play defensively. And then Oregon State has all the momentum, right? Like they're the Cinderella story. They're the first 12th seed to ever make it this far. All these different, you plug in all the different firsts that Oregon State is breaking here, and it's a heartwarming story, and I want the story to continue. But I don't think as a contender that they're the favorite of any of the three Pac-12 teams.
The interesting thing is, I agree that from a talent standpoint, USC is probably the most talented team of those three Pac-12 teams remaining. But I would acknowledge, though, that the matchup with Gonzaga is the one looming, which is why I would almost argue that it could be Oregon State or UCLA, simply because of their path may be slightly easier, not having to go through Gonzaga in the Elite Eight. And we actually had or were you about to add something?
Well, I was just gonna say for Oregon State, I mean, Houston has the best defense in the tournament. Like they are the best, and we saw it against Syracuse. They held Syracuse to 46 points. They held a team that is one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country to 46 points in the Sweet 16. Houston, I mean,
that's true. That's
coming into this tournament, Houston's net defensive rating was 3. Even though they only beat Rutgers by 3 and they played Cleveland State to open up the tournament, they're still, I think they moved up to 1 or 2 in the net rating defensively. So their defensive prowess is second to none, and it's going to make it very hard for Oregon State. If Oregon State can't find a way to free up John Lucas and Ethan Thompson, they're not going to win that game against Houston.
Good point. Good point. By the way, we got a chance to call some of Evan Mobley's games in high school last year. And I remember
you should have told me. I would have put up the picture. I have it on my phone.
You should. I do have the photo. I'll have to bring that up. Next morning, Joe, when he gets drafted in the NBA, that's going to be the opportune time to put that on, because I remember he was just a monster in high school. Like you said, had the skills of a guard despite being 7 feet. And a little tidbit of information about Jaime Jaquez. Apparently, Mick Cronin actually tried to recruit him to Cincinnati at the time when he was a Cincinnati head coach, and Jaquez denied that opportunity to go to UCLA.
Why would you go to Cincinnati when Kentucky's offering you a scholarship?
True. So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Johnny. Shifting to the NBA a little bit, because a couple notable players in the buyout market signed with different teams. Andre Drummond just announced that he's signing with the Lakers. Do you feel like he is the missing piece for the Lakers? What did you make of that signing yesterday?
If the Lakers don't have LeBron James and or Anthony Davis, meaning they can have one or the other, this signing doesn't matter. All you're doing is adding a guy with low offensive efficiency. And he'll get the 16 rebounds a game, these video game numbers for blocks and rebounds, like those are going to help. Those will help any team. It doesn't matter. Like you can't deny that he brings that caliber, the stout rebounding. He's another big body down low, excellent timing defensively. He's going to throw off, a dribble drive on it by a guard along the baseline. But he's not going to win you he's bringing in Andre Drummond as a replacement, right, for Anthony Davis, which I don't think he is, and I don't think that anybody should believe that he is, because he's a very different player in a different situation here. He's not gonna give enough wins above replacement for the Lakers for it to really matter. So he's another body. I think that we see Brooklyn. It's early. We see Brooklyn. It's early on a Monday. What are you doing to me, Morning Joe? We see Brooklyn, get sign LaMarcus Aldridge, sign Blake Griffin. The Lakers as the favorite in the West when they're fully healthy. And honestly, now that I see the Lakers without LeBron and AD, I'm not so sure they're the favorite with LeBron and AD, because there are teams with far more continuity, much better depth on the bench. And I mean, look, I'm the furthest thing from a Laker fan you're going to find this side of the Mississippi. But I was on this season is a wash, hand the trophy to the Lakers and let's move on to next year hype bandwagon before the season started too, because I didn't think that there was going to be anybody out there that was going to contend with them, both in the East, but also in the West. And now when you look at this team, I mean, Kuzma decides night to night what kind of night he wants to have. Sometimes he's 1 for 18, and sometimes he's 17 for 18. This guy is, I mean, he's. I don't even
he's
know
too
how.
inconsistent. I agree.
It's not even inconsistent. It's frustrating, right?
He's got to decide
because
what he wants to be every night.
Because as a Laker fan or as an NBA analyst, like this guy is obviously talented. And how amazing would it be if he could give you 20 and 6 every night, whether LeBron James and Anthony Davis are on the floor or not, with some efficiency. So that's a huge help. That's what the Lakers need. You're not going to get that from Andre Drummond. There were times when they got it last year from Danny Green. There were very few times when you get it from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, but that's when you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Without both those guys, I mean, everybody's talking about how this team might be a play-in team. I don't think it's going to get that bad. I think they'll still be a middle of the West seed. And I mean, even if they were a play-in team, can you imagine being Utah or the Clippers and having to face the Lakers the first round of the postseason with AD and LeBron back? That's not. I mean, that they're going to lose that series, so they could be the first 8 seed to win and move on. But I don't know. I'm just having my doubts about the Lakers right now, watching the production of this team without their 2-star players.
So let's transition to the East, because the other notable signee from the buyout market, LaMarcus Aldridge, signs with the Nets. I started off one of my rants this morning that the NBA, Adam Silver, at some point you just have to have more reverence for competition. I'm sorry. At some point you just got to put your foot down and say, Brooklyn, you're going to be forced to play with a meager 5 all-stars. Don't give them a 6 all-star. Johnny, those 6 guys have combined, and those 6 guys being Aldridge, Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, KD, have combined for 41 all-star appearances. At some point, it gets ridiculous. It gets absurd. You don't need him. It's a bit gratuitous at this point. Just sign somewhere else, LaMarcus Aldridge. This is absolutely ridiculous to me. What did you make of him? Of course, joining the Nets, who somehow seem to be the destination that every free agent, every player that has just been bought out is seeking to go play for.
Let's see. How many years have we had this conversation, Joe? Not just you and me, but us NBA people in society, right? 2016, we had it about the Warriors. No, let's even go back further back than that. 2013 with the Heat, 2014 with the Heat, 2015 was kind of an oddball year. 2016 with the Warriors, 17 with the Warriors, 18 with the Warriors, 19 with the Lakers, 20 with the Lakers, 21 with the Nets. This has been a conversation with teams for the last almost 8, since LeBron went to Miami. At this point. And yeah, there were whispers back in 2008 and 2009 with Boston, with the big 3, and there were whispers with the Lakers in 2010, but we didn't really have this conversation about, like the big markets are absolutely dominating free agency and this buyout market and the waivers, and you can build a super team with veteran minimum contracts now. And guys like Blake Griffin, like you would have never thought that Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge would be. I mean, LaMarcus will start, but like really, like the last viable options on a basketball team, you just wouldn't. Blake Griffin looked washed up. Brooklyn gives him a renaissance of life here because now all he has to do is what he can only do at this point, which is stand in the paint and be a body and facilitate the offense a little bit. LaMarcus Aldridge, I mean, he's still an 80 in 2K. Like he's still a decent player. But yeah, I mean, we've been having this conversation now about teams for eight seasons. I guess this is being the 9th season, 8 years. And I don't think that LaMarcus Aldridge signing with the Nets was going to change the fact that the Nets were going to win the East and probably still be the favorite to win the championship. I'm enjoying the reaction that I'm seeing from Laker fans about this signing, specifically yours just now, because that I don't know. I found some.
It's authentic. It's authentic.
It is. It's authentic.
It's annoying.
It authentically makes me happy.
I just think back, Johnny, to David Stern, God bless his soul, vetoing Chris Paul to the Lakers.
I saw your tweet. That was one of your more viral tweets, Jonah.
I haven't checked. I've been known to have many viral tweets.
All
So if
3
that's the
likes,
case,
man, killing the
hey,
game.
3 likes is better than no likes. That's how I say. That's what I say.
Depends on who's liking your tweet.
Fair enough. But I mean, Johnny, he vetoed Chris Paul with Kobe. Those are 2 all-stars. At some point, 6 on the same team. I just.
But that's when TV ratings were being distributed evenly. When you have to rely, when your TV ratings are being mass accumulated by a handful of teams, you're going to protect your investment in those teams. And honestly, nobody's going to say that within the NBA office, but that's what this is. It's the same reason that Mike Krzyzewski or Nick Saban never get recruiting penalties, right? Because the NCAA it protects their investments because they have a stake. They get money from it. These are equitable programs. Same in the NBA. The national TV games, those they get more eyeballs when the Brooklyn Nets are on it and they have all these talented players. The Lakers are the same way. And when the Lakers don't have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they need to find a way to draw attention to them. And Andre Drummond brings a level of that with that signing. So I agree with you. It's frustrating the buyout market. It's flawed. It screws up small market teams. But at the same time, it's the same old story. It's a business. The NBA is protecting their investment. Back in the David Stern days, there was a lot more continuity league-wide, right? The West and the East were a little bit more balanced. We didn't have super teams. And this is what David Stern was trying to prevent. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, money trumps everything. And that's what we're seeing with some of these situations.
True. Good stuff. Good stuff, Johnny. Executive producer and a host of the Ryan D. Leaf Show,
12 o'clock
broadcaster.
Pacific time today. Catch us on YouTube.
Catch him on YouTube, on Twitter. Make sure to catch Johnny on the CIF San Diego section broadcast for high school sports. And when is Just Recruiting coming back? We've been missing that for a little bit.
It depends
It's
on
a seasonal thing. It's a seasonal thing.
I mean, I'm talking to a lot of recruits every day, but it hasn't necessarily.
You're looking at one right now. You should have me on the show. I'll talk about my athletic.
I was thinking about trying to buy Morning Joe and hosting it myself.
Yeah, I don't know if the owner is going to budge, but maybe.
I saw it on Craigslist. It was pretty cheap. I think I got him.
Yeah, I think it was a seven-figure buyout, something like that.
That's pocket change.
Jonathan Rifkind, thank you so much for joining me, man. Have a good one.
You too, brother. Take care.